for inviting me here. It's a great honor, and I do want to thank Simone, who asked me some time ago. We ran into each other and said, would you mind speaking? And of course, I'm very, very honored to be here. Capriciously and arbitrarily deny him access to his family or to phone calls. He has gone on hunger strike to protest his treatment and the treatment of other political prisoners, and his health is seriously compromised. Ahmed Mansoor and his family paid a very heavy price for his human rights advocacy. In early 2011, after signing a petition calling for democratic and economic reforms, he was subjected to an online smear campaign orchestrated by the state security operations. It was a campaign that included death threats. In April of that year, he was arrested. He was held in jail for nearly 8 months, convicted of, quote, insulting the rulers, in a trial that really was a mockery of justice. And on 27th of November in 2011, he was sentenced to 3 years in jail. The next day, thanks largely to an international outcry, he and 4 others sentenced with him were pardoned. Just pause for a moment there, because sadly today, that wouldn't happen. The international outcry would not affect the rulers of these various Gulf authoritarian states. And by the time he was released, he had already lost his job as a senior engineer in a telecommunications firm, and subsequently, the government refused to issue him a certificate of good conduct, which meant that he couldn't get a job either in the public sector or in the private sector. His bank accounts were frozen, his passport was confiscated, he was banned from travel, a ban which prevented him from going to Geneva to receive the Martin Ennals Award for Human Rights Defenders. Despite constant harassment and the ever-present threat of arrest, Ahmed always made himself available, continued to talk to journalists like me and to various human rights organizations. Among his many great attributes, Ahmed is a fine poet. And when I think of him in that dank, cramped cell, I think of this poem. The poem was on the screen, but it's a very short poem. I will read it to you again if you indulge me, because it helps to remind me of his courage and of his extraordinary fortitude. What are all those stars for? And the night, and the clouds, and the sky erected like a tent in the desert. In a place like this, everything is luxury. Ahmed Mansoor's imprisonment and the genocide now ongoing in Palestine share a common link. And that link is the United Arab Emirates, which just this January hosted the Israeli economy minister and still has regular flights to and fro the Emirates to Israel. While virtue signaling and concern, the UAE has no intention of standing up to the Israelis. Rather, the opposite. It enables Israel to continue the genocide. And we too, in the UK, are enablers. When our government and the opposition Labour Party allow what is happening in Gaza and allow what has happened to Ahmed and to thousands of other human rights advocates in jails in Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Bahrain, Syria, Iran, by our silence, we are enablers too. Ahmed Mansoor, like all those others who have fought tirelessly and have paid dearly for the right to speak, I consider them patriots. To use the Cambridge Dictionary definition, a person who loves their country and if necessary will fight for it is a patriot. And I consider the fight for human rights and dignity for all is the true measure of patriotism. And if I may, I want to mention Abdul Hadi al-Hawasha, again, a friend who has been sentenced to life in jail in Bahrain. He too is a patriot. But Ahmed Mansoor is not only a great patriot, he's a human rights warrior, fighting not just for human rights in the Emirates, but for human rights everywhere. And I would say I'm honored to be amongst human rights warriors here tonight, including Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe and her extraordinary family. And I know there are others here as well that humble me. With the UK government threatening to curtail the right to protest while using lies and disinformation to justify their actions, we need to realize just how quickly and how easily rights can be removed. I was at the march on Saturday, this march that the Islamists had taken over, that meant that no Jews could go into central London. There was There were several hundred Jews in that march. It was called the Jewish Bloc. I saw no anti-Semitism. I saw no threatening behavior. What I saw was people marching for a ceasefire, marching for humanitarian aid to be allowed in, for food, water, medicine, fuel, electricity to be allowed into the starving, the wounded, the dying in Gaza. The Jewish Bloc were marching for that. We all, 250,000, were marching for that. But I think we're marching for humanity. Ahmed Mansoor from his cell speaks to all of us, reminds us all that the fight for human rights and human dignity is a shared fight. What are all those stars for? And the night, and the clouds, and the sky erected like a tent in the desert. In a place like this, everything is luxury. Were he with us today, and I so wish that he was, he would be calling for an end to the genocide in Palestine. He would be reminding us that allowing tyranny to flourish is a cancer that threatens us all, and that with each day that passes, that threat grows. It is destroying the fabric of our democracy, and it's staining our humanity. More than a decade ago, I asked Ahmed, who at that point had already been incarcerated, if he was not concerned that by speaking up, he would wind up in jail again. His answer was a question that stayed with me all these years later. If we do not speak, who will? From that dark prison cell, Ahmed Mansoor speaks to all of us. He is silenced only if we choose not to listen. Thank you.